The Arizona Cardinals have reached a pivotal point in their rebuild, and some analysts are saying they could go either way. We're day 2 into sticking away from caffeine and sugar and working out until the Arizona Cardinals make a splash move. Monty, por favor, make a move.
I can't follow that. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in PHNX Cardinals on a Wednesday, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. The PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinals podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable, Struggle Bus, Brack. In Studio K, Damon Dawg, swole Damon Dawg. You can't see him. He's busting out of his shirt. In Studio K, we are surviving, not thriving today. The only hope is our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Save us, friends. Download the app today. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer. Find out why, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary with Bet365. You cannot wager on when we're going to break, but I would say it's looking at about minus 500 for your boy to sneak a sweet treat and to be in a bad way. Welcome, friends.
Johnny, be strong, my man. Be strong for the community, for this team and its future. Mr. J, Jacob, Ryan, Sports Hero, Stag, Didi, Michael Evans, Claymore Jones, Jules Felix, ZT. Everybody is counting on you to see this thing through.
Minus 500 is sad.
Yeah, that's not a sound bet. Did you see the one better that put $2,000 down on Harrison Butker to hit a PAT just to win $100? Left the big fat loser from Super Bowl 59.
It's good living. Smart choices, just like we're making on this show. I like this from K2. Watch, JV will bag when he meets Monty. You're damn right I will. Monty, get out your phone right now. We need a transaction. I need it like I need an IV so I can go shotgun a brownie in the media center. Help us. Things are rough for your boys. And if you're looking for a behind the scenes look at the torture right now, check us out, become a diehard, gophnx.com, and you can see the breakdown.
Yeah.
Footage from my house, footage from Bo's house, footage from the gymnasium with our guy Damon Dawg. Every single day you're getting the inside scoop. You got to be a diehard.
It's about to be Damon Pitbull. He's going to be so jacked. Damon Rockweiler. He's going to be just
with Kane Corso.
Yeah. Just going to be jacked up, ready to throw down. He's going to be intimidating people out there at the scouting combine. Can't wait for it in the next couple of weeks. But look, some of us are hanging on by a thread. Some of us thriving. And, where the Arizona Cardinals are. Come on, stay with me, Johnny.
What? The show's on?
Who knew? Who knew it? We were going to uncover just...
I knew.
a disgusting vice that you needed to have an intervention about anyways.
Our coach.
We're trying to get it weeded out. But look, Cardinals, pivotal point in their rebuild. And it's not... even when you go to outside sources, you go kind of from a national perspective, people realize that. When I was waking up today and not enjoying my morning coffee, I was still doing my usual routine, scrolling, different pages, including ESPN.com and Jeremy Fowler. We've had him on this show. We call him friend of the show when that happens. Put together kind of a 32-team compilation of where those teams are and tiered them as far as their hierarchy in the NFL. Of course, you got the Eagles, you got the Kansas City Chiefs, who are legit contenders, and then you kind of move on down the list, or those who are maybe close to being contenders, and then you've got the pretenders, you've got the teams in quarterback purgatory, And then you've got teams that kind of are on the rise, teams stuck in the middle, and they just broke it all the way down. So where do the Arizona Cardinals stand, Johnny?
Not a great spot. Like we're going to release here where they have placed the Cardinals and Ossenfort. I don't think it's a place that you would want to see. And again, it's one man's opinion, right? This is not based on analytics. This is just like a grab bag. And we know ESPN, and I like Jeremy Fowler. We've met with him before. Seems like a nice enough guy. ESPN does not have a good scope on the Cardinals. So we should preface this conversation by saying, like, they left Trey McBride off the top 10 tight ends last year.
Mm-hmm.
Lunacy, buffoonery, moronic, right? Mm-hmm. So we can take this with a grain of salt. But like what they put out there, like I don't disagree with. They are at a breaking point. We know the volatile nature of the ownership, right? What happens if they don't push it over the finish line? How do you balance, which is really going to be the key for Ossenfort, making the playoffs, which feels like a mandate, but not going too far down the deep end where you torpedo your long-term outlook, a la Steve Keim, right? Like the Cardinals sold their soul for a playoff berth in 2021, and then it led to a 4+ year rebuild and have to clean up that mess, years and years of misfires in the draft. It's difficult, especially when you consider, Bo, that the Cardinals, like we should have repurposed this clip. One of the best parts of our interview with Mina Kimes, check it out, Radio Row last week. I just asked her, I'm like, hey, did they blow this last year? Because like the Niners are going to retool. They hired Robert Saleh. The Seahawks aren't content. They're high on this list, and we know what the Rams can do. And she point blank said, like, yeah, this was their opportunity. They could have been Washington, right? And I know you scoff at that, but I do surprise teams every year. The Cardinals theoretically, Bo, could be a better team on paper this year and still not make the playoffs. And that's a tough spot to be in. And then, of course, the biggest elephant in the room is, what are you getting from Kyler Murray? Is Kyler Murray in year 7 going to show you something different than the first 6 years that are going to lead you to believe that you have a chance to compete for the NFC West? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll push back. As you already kind of knew I was going to. I like the idea that this team that we saw fall apart in the final, 7 games of the season, to think that they were just going to go make some noise in the postseason, like they didn't show any sort of consistency, and to think that like year 2 of a rebuild, like this was the missed opportunity. I think that's a bit of a reach. Like, was there an opportunity to win the West?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying going for a championship.
Look, you always want to see your team win the division, sure, but like, how far were they going to go? I mean, we saw the winner of division, make their way to divisional round. That's great for the Rams. But, would the Cardinals have been able to pull off that feat? Would they have been able to take down the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah.
Sure, it would have been a home game, and they played the Vikings close. But, I think that to say like, hey, the window is shut, closed, or this is going to sting years to come. No, not if the rebuild continues to trend the way it's trending. Cardinals are going to be just fine. They're going to be continue to draft and develop and grow this thing. And they're going to get more and more talent in this. And if you have the confidence in Monti and Jonathan Gannon to get the job done, then what changes? I mean, they went from 4 wins to 8 wins. Like that needs to be commended to an extent. And if that's why I think it's so pivotal this offseason to go to the next step, to break through that. And if it looks like them breaking through and the division catches back up and you got to win 12 games to win this division, then that's unfortunate. But I'm not going to sit here and be remorseful about, winning a division and then getting like a first round exit in the playoffs. I just think like this team showed some things and then they missed opportunities, and they still have their flaws, and they need to really fix those flaws this offseason.
I don't disagree. I feel like, listen, at the end of the day, you can't take for granted postseason bursts here in Arizona, and you had a chance to lock one up by winning the division. I mean, like they've sported those. They've got to be Taggart and old and dusty division titles from 10+ years ago. They had a chance to add a new one this year and do something really that they have not done. It just surprised the Valley really since like 2013, 2008, 2009. With their play. And I we were all disappointed by that. Now, I'm saying like that blows their chance to be competitive this year. It doesn't, but
right.
I watched this team not make the playoffs with 10 wins in 2013. I've seen like Seattle feels like they're a playoff team next year. San Francisco, same. And the Rams, same. It doesn't get any easier. It gets exponentially more difficult. And so,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I know we've all been living it, man. Like we've been living this nightmare of this organization continuously try to figure it out and unsuccessfully, right? But I think one thing that we have to hold on to and continue to give the grace to the new organization, albeit they did miss their opportunity. They did have it right there in front of them, and they fell short of that, right? That goes on their resume. They don't get a hall pass for that. But we can't continue to make this current regime pay for the sins of their predecessors. You can't put that on Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon and say, hey, get away from the direction that you've successfully put in place for this organization in the short 2 years and get away from it, pivot because this fan base has been suffering for far too long.
That's fair.
Like that's a bit unfair. Like I still trust the direction, but I'm still with you. Like there needed to be probably more aggressiveness at the trade deadline. There needed to, like, I know JG and his coaching staff, and we'll talk about the changes here later in the show, but they were doing everything within their power to get this team ready to play each and every week, but they continuously fell short and missed out on a chance to take what you've called an eroding NFC West, at least in 2024, to punch their ticket to the playoffs, which would have been a really nice prize for the 2024 season. A really nice notch to put on the post for the Cardinals.
Let's take a look at these tiers via ESPN. The Cardinals finished toward the bottom. Surprise, surprise. Could go either way. They're slumming it with the Bears, who, by the way, have a new head coach and lost 10 straight games. So do with that what you will. Their peer in the AFC, and I'll let Damon chime in on this because he does love him some Dolphins. I think the Dolphins and the Cardinals are kindred spirits of each other, minus the Lombardi trophies. Stuck in the middle, Dallas, Atlanta, San Francisco, Indy. Like I think Colts are probably on the Cardinals level, and then on the right track, Fraud City Broncos. We'll see. I love me some Chargers. I definitely think they're heading toward the right direction. No issue with the Rams or the Bucks. And I mean, Seattle, if you talk to a casual NFL fan, nobody's putting Geno Smith ahead of Kyler Murray yet. Seattle's on the right track, and the Cardinals basically like your rebuild could implode. And then obviously Washington, to me, should be in the contender category. But Damon, what do you think about these overhaul tiers?
Yeah, I mean, I do understand your comparison there. I do think the Dolphins and Cardinals fall in kind of I see a lot of similarities in the way Tua and Kyler get talked about within their own fan bases.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of question marks, I think, revolving around both those guys. Like it feels like they're good enough, but they don't always show it all the time, or with Tua, in Tua's case, it's injury related often. But yeah, I mean, I understand. I think the Bears deserve to be on there because I could see a world where it goes well for the Bears. You don't?
Yeah, 5 wins to include them with a couple teams that were knocking on the door, where the Bears were ripping off loss after loss at the end of the season. I mean, they lost 10 straight. It just couldn't do anything right. Well, I mean, we'll see what Ben Johnson's made of. I seem to think that he's as innovative as there's been as far as an offensive play calling standpoint. We'll see how he is from a leadership standpoint. But to put the Bears and could go either way, I think that's a bit kind of pandering to their fan base that's going to eat up any positive.
That's fair.
News. The Dolphins and the Cardinals, I agree with you. Like very similar, but the Dolphins have been at this a little bit longer than the Cardinals. Like the Cardinals are 2 years in, where McDaniel's going into his 4th season as head coach. So
yeah, but McDaniel's won right away. McDaniel's went to the playoffs. McDaniel's has been to the playoffs multiple times. I look at could go either way. Like McDaniel's is not poised to be fired. He's got his act together.
I think that what they're trying to say though is that the Dolphins are trending down after last season. So it's like, are they going to trend back up, or is it going to be kind of fall off the rails here?
Now,
which I could see.
There's a bunch of tiers below them, like rebuild in the works, and it's Carolina, it's Tennessee, it's the Giants, and then it's like, yep, still rebuilding. It's the Pats, it's the Jets. So, and then I think that the tier above the Cardinals with the could go either way, like it says QB purgatory, and it's like the Browns and the Raiders, but they're also just bad. You could just put them in the bad tier.
That one didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah,
why were they labeled above?
I don't know why they did that, because I've got the Cardinals right behind the tier of on the right track. And if we bring it back up and you look at the on the right track, and I was like, well, why? Like before I got down to the Cardinals tier, I was like, well, I wonder why the Cardinals didn't get there. And then you see like 10 wins, 11 wins, 10 wins, 10 wins, 10 wins, and 12 wins. So it's just like, okay, they just didn't win enough football games. But where you want to see this for the Arizona Cardinals and why this offseason is so pivotal is that they at the very least have to get on the right track. They've got to jump the stuck in the middle group here, which I don't know how Dallas kind of frauded their way into it either. They need to go from could go either way, make the right decisions and go the right way to get on the right track.
I think they belong in stuck in the middle. They're literally picking in the middle of the first round. They're 16th, and they are one of the hardest strength of schedules. But also on the ESPN article, I don't know if you guys caught this, it says stuck in the middle, but a move or two away. Who the hell does that sound like?
Right.
I mean, the Cardinals are like, we talked about this, a pass rusher, a defensive tackle, and then if you want to mix in like a guard, like Cardinals don't need a ton, but where they're missing, they're crater, Grand Canyon size holes at pass rusher, right? Disrupting the quarterback. And then on the flip side, I mean, you make your case for a speed receiver, I guess, but that's the tier they belong in. I mean, Dallas at 7-10, Brian Schottenheimer coaches the Dallas Cowboys now, right? I mean, their coaching staff is, with respect to Clayton Adams, who's not calling plays, a joke. Cardinals are like, we finished 8-9 and everybody wants to pat themselves on the back. Gannon's firing coaches on the defensive side of the ball. The side of the ball we thought we were good to go on. So again, here's what they have to say about the Cardinals. What's next for the Cardinals? They couldn't even get this right. They said the Cardinals went 7-10 last year. They went 8-9. Arizona's positioned for success entering the third year under Jonathan Gannon and GM Monti Ossenfort. The regime hasn't spent big in free agency, relying on the draft to rebuild, but now might be the time to pounce coming off a 7-win season. Nope, 8 wins. The offensive line, pass rush, and there's a cornerback again. Positions need improvements. There's money to spend. Kyler Murray, the quarterback, is the only Cardinal with a cap hit over $20 million. Extending star tight end Trey McBride will be a priority. Okay, so again, that's a paint by numbers. Like, what do I know about the Cardinals? Well, I can't even get the record right.
Right.
They drafted about 20 corners in 2 years. They added a big free agent corner last year.
Is that the biggest telltale sign for Cardinals casual right there?
How about a corner?
What do you think they need to do to get better?
We were one of the worst teams at pressures. Add a corner. Maybe another safety.
If you're ever just talking ball, maybe like, how your partner, your spouse, whatever, like makes you go to that dinner party and you're sitting there and it's like, oh, I'm a Cardinals fan. And he's like, yeah, what do you think they need to do this offseason? And somebody says, I think they need to go get that corner. They need that shutdown guy.
I think Kansas City needs to improve their QB room.
Honey, we shouldn't hang out with them anymore.
Yeah.
I think the skill players in Philadelphia leave a lot to be desired. I think they need to retool on that. And I'm not comparing the Cardinals cornerback room. Good hell. Come on now.
Right.
They've drafted like 4 in 2 years in the top 100, and they added one in free agency. They got too many of them, frankly. Corner. They have no defensive linemen. It's the biggest. It's one of the biggest holes in the NFL. Zaven Collins led the team in sacks with 5 sacks last year, and the fact they're not beating that drum, they are like Matt Miller. Somebody who fan of the show basically threw shade at Matt Miller, and Matt Miller was like touche, and then he tagged me in it. I apologize, can't remember who did it on Twitter, but it's just our fans, PHNX Cardinal faithful, doing the Lord's work. Like, Matt, get it together. It was something to the effect of like, stop mocking corners to the Cardinals. They don't need any corners, Matt.
And his answer was touche.
He was like, I understand. Basically, like, he had to go be put in timeout. I'll find it during the break and pull it up. I want to give credit to whomever did it. It was good.
Yeah. Okay. So now that we've told people how you can expose the Cardinals casual, getting back on track here. And yeah, their breakdown, it doesn't do it any justice. But I mean, I don't know if we're really disagreeing with where they are. I mean, don't you get the sense that they are in the middle, or they could go either direction? Like, this offseason is pivotal in the sense that they either kind of stay here in purgatory in the NFC West in a tough division, that if you don't improve your roster enough that's necessary, you're going to be stuck there. Like, if you build off of what you've done the last two off seasons, like, yeah, like you can continue that rise, you continue to trend, but it's tougher now. Like, you don't have like these huge glaring holes that you can just throw all this draft capital at and obviously get in the building and develop and stuff like that. Now you've got, pretty decent talent floor, and now you need somebody to kind of break through the ceiling. You need to get guys to help this team break through the ceiling.
Like, what's the Cardinals' floor next year? Like 7 wins again?
Yes.
I feel like 7 wins, and their ceiling is
as it stands right now.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to hear smart mouths say, well, if Kyler Murray goes down? That's any team, right? Like, if everybody plays again, they could win between I think 7 to 11 games.
They're playing in the NFC South. They're playing the AFC South. They got some real gimmies this season. That's
right.
7 as the roster stands right now. You add some pass rush that can crank up the heat a little bit. Kyler Murray takes even the slightest step. This team should win 10 games.
We dropped an interview, isolated it here on YouTube. Albert Breer, go watch it. Basically talking about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s work ethic. And we chat a little bit off air. And he basically said, if you don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be motivated by the success of these other wideouts, the fact that people are kind of scoffing at his production this year, that guy's going to work his ass off this offseason. Does anybody think Marvin Harrison Jr. is just going to roll off the couch to training camp next year? He's going to be one of the biggest boom second-year players in the NFL. It's one of the easiest things to telegraph. Yeah, it is a big boom. Tim was my guy on Twitter going after Matt Miller. But to be fair, he did say, as it relates to the fact that Eagles basically won with pass rush. But he did say, stop mocking corners to the Cardinals. And Matt Miller, maybe he'll listen. He needs to listen. You guys need to listen to our guy, Fran Duffy, right around the corner. We're going to recap the Super Bowl. Who makes sense? Sweat versus maybe Milton Williams. And as we get closer to the NFL Combine, who should be on the radar for the Redbirds at pick 16 plus? I'm going to ask him. It's Cam Scatterbo. Where's he going? First round, second round, that and more coming up. PHNX Cardinals. Yeah, we're fired up here on a football Wednesday. We're fired up with our friends at Colt Cannabis and Trulieve. Every single day, make it a point to check out a huge variety with our friends at Colt Cannabis, now available at your local Trulieve. Exclusive magic marker. The Valleys, they've been asking for her, and now she's back. Premium flower. Visit trulieve.com to find a local shop near you, or place an order and tell them PHNX Cardinals sent you. Great flower is hard to find these days, and luckily our friends at Colt Cannabis, they've been dropping an absolute fire here at the PHNX studios, anywhere really, at your local Trulieve. That includes Trulieve exclusive magic marker strand. Right now it's open. It's open in my old stomping grounds. Maricopa actually just celebrated their 1-month anniversary dating back to January 11th. Go to trulieve.com to find your local shop or place an order. Again, PHNX is who you want to name drop. Colt Cannabis and Trulieve, proud partners, PHNX Sports.
You hear that? Tick, 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 tick. That's the clock ticking, Johnny, on the 48-hour President's Day sale that starts this Thursday at Sanderson Ford. They are going to crank out some unbelievable deals in celebration for President's Day. And, of course, Arizona being the 48th state in the union, Ford trucks are being number 1 in sales in Arizona across the country for 48 straight years, man. We love our trucks here in AZ. Sanderson Ford is having 48-hour only sale on over 800 new and pre-owned vehicles with savings of $4,800 or more. Save $4,800 on the 2024 Bronco Sports. Get an additional $480 Visa gift card with every new vehicle purchase or lease. This is unbelievable deals going on, and it's only with our friends over at Sanderson Ford. The 48-hour sale discounts are valid Thursday, February 13th through Monday, which is President's Day. Why not hook your Valentine up with a nice little ride from Sanderson Ford? The Bronco Badlands offer includes $1,000 RBC, $1,750 RCC cash, and $1,000 Jeep Open Conquest cash. You may qualify for Visa gift card not valid on AXZ or D plans or Raptor trimmer trucks and specialty vehicles.
Big thanks to everybody in the chat. We got over 500 people watching live. Jump on over, smash the like button, drop in a comment. We got all of our faves in the chat. Our guy Shaft, Claymore Jones, Mike D, Rafa, who still feels like maybe Mike Kuntz is worth an investment. K2's here, Eli, Josh. We appreciate everybody. Big Bird 92. It's what's that?
No, you called him Mike Kuntz?
Yeah,
Malcolm Kuntz.
It's so disrespectful.
Johan Dotson, like Mike Kuntz. Aris is here. What's up? Merv's here. I mean, he's off the list. We pull the list up from yesterday, by the way. For those just joining us, breaking our vices, it's going to take one of the following qualifying agents to sign with the Arizona Cardinals. And I think we counted. It's about 11 names on this list, plus any major trades that include a first or second round pick. A lot of people were messaging us after the show saying, you guys need to expand upon your list. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting until the draft. If that's the case, you know what? I don't want to break the fast. I don't want to break our vices because then we're just, whatever we're doing would be for nothing. We're doing this to just prove a point here. And the point is the Cardinals should be playing in the sandbox of the elite and free agency, not the middle of the bottom tier again, Bo.
Right. It's like you're playing horse and you're just hitting layups. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm playing some hoops. I'm being competitive, but are you really trying to give your best? The thing that concerns me though is like I see T. Higgins on this list. I'm like, there's no chance the Cardinals are going after T. Higgins. So scratch him off. And this list, it's already small to begin with. What do we have on there? 10 shots right there.
But
10
don't
swings at the plate, and I'm gonna be without caffeine for 60 days plus.
I was interpreting it more as like, well, if something comes about, we can discuss whether or not we consider that a major move. But that was more of like examples of certain players we'll get. But this will all be null and void because Hassan Reddick is an Arizona Cardinal.
That does give me a little confidence there. I mean, that little confirmation.
I think it would be good. I would be very surprised. Let's just put this out there. If they opt to not run it back with Baron Browning, you almost feel like it's a guarantee because they're so big on familiarity that either Reddick or Sweat's a Cardinal. I think if you're rooting for Sweat or Reddick, stay away from Baron Browning. We don't want to see Baron Browning post on Twitter or social media, I'm returning to the desert. And we're all like, oh no, right? Because you can't go and bypass that position again and wait for the draft. Now, we all feel like they should double up on pass rusher. I mean, who else is a realistic option that's not Malcolm Kuntz or whomever to say we're signing an edge rusher to help the pass rush? If it's not Baron Browning, who is it? It's Sweat or Reddick.
But here's where I think the move really is going to come, just because how much talent and depth is in the draft. I think, and this is going back to your earlier reporting from, in season is, they're gonna try to beef up the offensive line interior wise. Yeah. And like Will Fries is not on that list, is he?
We should add him. We should add him. We'll add him.
I think probably that you should go 3 to 4 deep as far as the interior offensive lineman, because we're going to be sitting here spiking the football. I'm going to be guzzling Mountain Dew Code Red, and Johnny's going to be just doing a line of Reese's Pieces.
I'll have a standby cake. The week of free agency, there will be a double fudge chocolate cake right next to me, and I will eat it. Bo hates when I eat on air. He doesn't let me do it. I'm going to do it that day. Let me just stick my whole face in it. I'm missing, my birthday's on Monday. I'm missing a birthday cake on Monday for this cause. Don't make that face. That smart ass face. He made it yesterday.
You poor thing.
No, I'm with you. I think Will Fries, Mekhi Becton, Trey Smith. I mean, there's about 3 guards. We got to add those folks. We were told, this is exclusive to this podcast, that they want to upgrade 3 positions in free agency. Okay. Offensive guard. Now this was before Jonah Williams got hurt, but offensive guard, they wanted a big ticket guard, everything on the defensive line, D tackles, D ends, whatever, edge pressure, disruptors. And then number 3 was they wanted an impact off ball linebacker. And I think you can see kind of where that's trending, Bo, because of the fact that they seem to allow Kazir White to hit free agency.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't love it yesterday. Maybe we put Dre Greenlaw in there. I think we put Will Fries and Dre Greenlaw on there based on name alone, because Greenlaw had a full year to recover. They brought him back. It's not like he was just out.
Yeah.
Let's put him on there.
I think Fries, like you would have had to put him on the list just to say, see, we identified him. Like Greenlaw, he's a big enough NFL name to where like everybody would. That's
the equivalent like a Chris Godwin. Didn't Godwin get hurt too?
But like Jamie and Sherwood from the Jets, off-ball linebackers, somebody that we've looked at.
We should probably add him.
You think so? I mean, he's pretty far down most free agent rank. Like Ernest Jones, like if he stays within the division and he signs as off-ball linebacker, count him as a big signing?
Really, it depends on the money, and it shouldn't. But the money represents the fact that maybe they outbid people that they got. They rolled up their sleeves and they made some commitments. We're committed to our next guest because he's the All-City NFL analyst for the draft and otherwise. Plus, he's the best in the business. Check out his work at gophnx.com. Player profiles aplenty. Saw him last week in New Orleans. He's back. We'll see him in 2 weeks at the NFL Combine. It's our guy, Fran Duffy, fresh off an Eagles championship Super Bowl. Let's get Fran on the screen. There he is. There's our guy, Fran Duffy. Fran, what'd you make of that Super Bowl? Was it a mirage? Where was Josh Sweat the entire postseason up until Sunday?
Bo and Zach were talking about, with the three of us were talking about that on the PHLY Eagles show today. Just talking about, down the stretch, we didn't hear much from Sweat. He saved his best for last. That's for sure. Showing up with 2.5 sacks, helped force an interception, 6 pressures on the night against Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. So he went out with a bang. If that was his last game in Philadelphia.
It was a good time to have a really solid performance for a guy like Sweat, but also a good performance for Milton Williams, who's going to be soon to be free agent. Like, if you were to put money down on like who remains a Philadelphia Eagle, would you put any on either one of those guys, or is it just kind of the writing on the wall that they're going to go test the market?
Yeah, I would say, Bo, that Milton would be the one that would be more likely to stay as opposed to Sweat. My guess is that, just because of how things went last offseason, Sweat was unhappy, wanted more money. They ended up redoing his contract to just make it kind of a 1-year deal to just play out the string. And so my guess is that he would be the one to go and not Milton Williams. But we've seen it go, situations like this here in Philadelphia where, it looks like it's going one way and then they pivot and they go the other, right? So I think that ultimately they'd like to have Milton back more. This is a guy that's, both are homegrown, but Milton's a little bit younger. The injury history and long-term durability concerns are not there, whereas they are with Sweat. So I think when you look at it, Milton would probably be the guy they'd like to bring back. But between those two, Zach Bond, he's also a free agent. Mekhi Becton, also a free agent. All 4 guys are going to be in that same bucket of like 18 to 20 million APY when you look at it overall. And so it's going to be tough to bring all of them back, certainly. But certainly, I think when you're probably looking like 1 or 2 of them tops.
Yeah, you think about they invested a first-round pick in Jordan Davis. And then, of course, they took their gem 2 years ago in the top 10, Jalen Carter. Like, I don't know how Milton Williams fills in long-term for them. And I also think about, Fran, the fact that Jonathan Gannon was there in 2021 when Milton Williams was drafted. Like, I think what a lot of people don't realize is Sweat's been there for a hot minute. It's 2018, 2019, before Gannon was the defensive coordinator. And we know, they take stock, Howie Roseman, they go up to these guys. They look at tape together. And the same thing happens here with Nick Rallis. I think that Milton, even though the Cardinals' need at edge rusher is greater than D tackle, I think you could make a strong case, and our fan base does, that Milton's the better player. He has an opportunity. We saw, even though he's a disrupting D tackle, you can put him on the edge of the defensive line and he can get pressure on tackles and guards. Like, is he the better player if he hits free agency over Josh Sweat, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. I think that you're counting on more consistent productivity, more consistent disruption. And again, he's younger, and also with Sweat, there's that lingering knee issue, and that's the thing where it's like it hasn't cost him a lot in terms of games over the course of his NFL career, but it's just kind of like laying there, and everyone knows it's there. And it's just a matter of, is at one point is it going to fall off the cliff? If it does, and who knows? Not even maybe he can, play 6 or 7 more years and be okay. But I think with Milton, there's that is not existent. I can tell you, like the video from Jonathan Gannon when they drafted Milton Williams in the 3rd round a few years back in Philadelphia, he was jacked up for that pick, very excited to bring him into the fold. And so my guess is it would still be that way if they were able to get him out into the desert.
Never known JG to be one that got too excited. Never, right? He doesn't get too fired up for stuff like that. You spent 3 weeks on the road. The article's up. Go PHNX.com. I highly encourage people to check it out, especially if you're a diehard. Check out the insight that you got just covering the NFL draft, starting at East-West Shrine Game in Dallas, then making your way to Mobile, and then, of course, to New Orleans, part of the Super Bowl festivities leading up to the game. But as we start to kind of break down this defensive front 7 class, I mean, who do you rank as your top prospects in those positions?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the top of both positions, when you're looking at the edge, Abdul Carter, feel pretty good about that. And then when you go to the defensive tackles, Mason Graham from Michigan. And so a couple of Big Ten players to top off both of these lists. But I think when you look at the depth at the top, it is a very talent-rich group along the defensive line, and that is good news for the Arizona Cardinals, knowing what they need up front. Obviously, they had Darius Robinson a year ago, but I think continuing to replenish that area, I think would be big for Jonathan Gannon's unit. And so, if you're looking for like those versatile edge-type rushers, I know the three of us have talked about some different options that would make sense there. Is James Pierce Jr. The type that could step in? From Tennessee, he's got the ability to stand up and be moved around as a joker type piece. But then you look at the defensive tackles, who's got that multiple front flexibility as well, like what we talk about with Milton Williams. Honestly, there are a bunch of guys I think that would kind of fit that bill for Arizona. So yeah, there's going to be options aplenty. Now it's just going to be a matter of, all right, like when they're on the clock, who's the best player on the board? And who's the guy that maybe it would be tough to kind of replicate. All right, because these are the conversations that they'll have after pro days in late March, getting into early April. It's all right, if we want to take 2 defensive linemen on between day 1 and day 2, would we rather have Walter Nolan and insert defensive end, edge rusher from round 2, or would you rather take, we'll say Nick Scorton in round 1 and pair him with the defensive tackle in round 2, right? And so those are the conversations that they're going to have as they start getting into that point in the calendar. Now it's all about collecting info, meeting these guys, and trying to check as many boxes as possible.
We're 2 weeks out from the NFL Combine, where folks are going to be putting on performances, shows. Nolan Smith 2 years ago, we remember his 40 time well. And then last year, we got a little Monti Ossenfort shimmy after the Dallas Turner 40 time 4.46, right? So there's always 1 or 2 guys. I remember Braden Fisk had a tremendous combine last year. There's a handful of guys. If you had to put, kind of a pulse on this group this year, who's got an opportunity to put on a show on the turf? Again, doesn't always translate. Yeah. We've been fooled by the Isaiah Simmons of the world. But, sure. I mean, they're combine maybe some tape and then maybe a performance that's due to explode here in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I mentioned one in James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. I would expect him to test well. I'm just looking through my sheet. Another one, I mean, Abdul Carter. The one thing that you can count on, death, taxes, and Penn State players blowing up the combine. And so I think when you look at Abdul Carter, when you watch him on film, you see it. And I think when we see him test in Indianapolis, hopefully he tests. He was a little bit banged up towards the end of their season. Hopefully he's able to go through the full allotment. But he is a guy that I would expect to be in that low 4.4 range, at 250 pounds, and that will be very, very impressive. And so I would say Carter and James Pierce Jr. would be 2 guys. And then you start getting into like the weight adjusted guys, the guys that are like 290, 280, and they test the way that we would expect. I mean, like Jordan Birch from Oregon is a guy that, has outstanding size at 6'4", 290. and he's gonna move. Like he's a guy that can push weight far. So I think when you look at Jordan Birch, he'd be a guy off the edge, certainly to watch. As far as the pure interior guys, Johnny, I think that when you start to look at, I mentioned Walter Nolan. He's a player that I would expect to test well. Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee, I think he's going to test well. Deion Walker. This is a guy, I remember when Jordan Davis was, coming out of Georgia, he was in that like 350-pound range and ended up running something ridiculous in the 40. It wouldn't shock me if Deion Walker did some similar type of things. Kenneth Grant from Michigan, I would say the same thing about. I think that he's going to test well for a 340-pounder. So I think when you look at this group, that's why it's so deep, is that there are just a number of really impressive physical specimens up front, and they also happen to be pretty good football players as well.
We opened today's show referencing an ESPN article where Jeremy Fowler and a collective of analysts there tiered different teams, and they have the Cardinals as kind of they could go either way. And, it's a pivotal year in the rebuild, year 3 under Ossenfort and Gannon. And as we look at that in the 16th overall pick, you can approach it in a couple different ways, especially with the talent that's there. You can take a conservative approach, a player with a high floor, maybe a lower ceiling, or a guy with a higher ceiling and maybe could strike out. If the Cardinals will go to conservative, who would be a prospect, and who would be a prospect that they could potentially get aggressive and take a big swing on at 16?
So I think if you want to get aggressive, I think that there are a few names that pop into my head in terms of the first round. I'm just kind of going through just to make sure I give you a good one here.
Okay.
I would say if you want to go aggressive and you want to swing for the fences, Will Johnson is a corner, but I depending on where he goes, there are some people that think he could go higher than that, and then there are some that think he could fall to the middle of the first round. I don't think corner is at the top of Arizona's needs, though. But versatile safety, Nick Emanwari is a player that, because here's the thing for me, Johnny, right, or for Bo. To me, when I'm looking at prospects, right, I think of, all right, who are the high upside guys? Exactly how you just laid it out. Who are the high floor? I know that, JG kind of, obviously he was here in Philadelphia for a few years. One thing you love to see, and they did this in the number of the drafts that he was a part of, it's the high upside guys that also have the high character, right? Like Milton Williams was one of those players. So it's like, all right, not only does he have the high physical tools, but because he's a high character guy, he's got the work ethic and all the hit principle stuff, like all of that stuff, all gets factored in. And you feel good about him being able to hit his ceiling. He's going to put the work in to be able to hit it. So Nick Emanwari, the safety from South Carolina, maybe 16 is a little high, right? For a safety. When I watch this kid, the physical tools are through the roof, like Kyle Hamilton type of physical tools. And anyone I talk to, player, coach, like scout that has been through the building, everybody raves about him from like off the field as well. And so he would be a guy that I would say kind of is that Venn diagram, like right in the middle, where I feel really good about his floor and he's got a sky high ceiling, right? And so and he's got that versatile skill set that would make sense on the back end, of that defense. Up front, I think that when you look at Walter Nolan would be a big swing. He would be a player that I think when you look at what he can do, he was a big time recruit. The pedigree is there. They really didn't do a ton when he was at Texas A&M for 2 years. When you look at what that group looked like a couple years ago, it was like 5-star, 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 and none of them really hit. Nolan goes to Ole Miss, and his film this year was just outstanding. Was one of my standouts from the Senior Bowl as well. So
is that something we should consider, Fran? Is that something we should consider when we look at Shamar Stewart? Like just how they just weren't productive at A&M, and like you talk about high ceiling, like 4.5 sacks in 30+ games. It's concerning, but like he's got the tools, he's got the size.
Yeah, that's a great one. And when you look at like, all right, who would be a big swing? Stewart would be that, and it's like to me, like it's not even just about 4.5 sacks over the course of his career. 12. I'm looking at he had 12 TFLs in his career in 19 starts. That's a really low number. He had a pass rush win rate of under 11% this past year. It's a really low number. On third down, It was 11.5%. That's an extremely low number, right? So it's not even just maybe he was getting a lot of pressure and he just wasn't finishing, he wasn't getting home. You're talking about like not a lot of impact plays against the run, not beating the guy across from him consistently enough. the tools are all there, but that's why I'm a little bit lower on Shemar Stewart, just because like even like the underlying metrics aren't there either. So when the tools don't necessarily match the film and don't match the numbers, that's where it becomes a huge swing. And there are some that think he's going to go in the top 15. I can't get there. I can't get there with Shemar Stewart. So that would be one. Like maybe I'll feel differently. You know, I see him in in shorts and a t-shirt and his underwear go through drills. I don't think so though. I watched him live up close at the Senior Bowl for 2 days, and while he had flash moments, I don't know if I can get all the way there.
A couple of years ago, Jalen Hurts picked 52, 53 for a Philadelphia Eagle team that many assume were set at quarterback. Cardinals picked 47th in the second round this year. What would need to happen for the Cardinals to take a quarterback at pick 47? Give our audience a name or two that could emerge from now until the draft based on pro day, private workouts, combine performance, that the Arizona Cardinals privately or publicly could say, like, this is our guy. Who's a realistic option if they decide to go that route?
Well, I mean, really, there's only a couple guys I think where you're talking about in that range of the draft, and depending on who you talk to, you'll get a spirited argument for that player, right? And so the three that come to mind, Johnny, would be Jalen Milroe from Alabama, Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, and Tyler Shuck from Louisville. Those would be the three guys I think when you get to day 2 of the draft that would be the most likely to hear their names called. Now, Milroe, he fits into that bucket of high floor, high ceiling. Now at quarterback, having I would say like high floor because the tools are there, right?
Yeah.
When you have that mobility, you have that escapability. Like this is a guy that can go in and has that playmaking dimension, not a finished product right now as a passer. And so like, all right, is he going to put the work in to be able to get there? I can tell you that, going back to that Venn diagram, like the high character, high tools, Jalen Hurts was that guy coming out of Oklahoma, previously at Alabama, was that, he got better every stage of the pre-draft process. I saw him throw live at the Senior Bowl, and then a couple weeks later throw live at the Combine, and you saw strides from there to there. Pro Day, he did a nice job, but like every year in college got better despite having different offensive coordinators. So then I transitioned that to Milroe and say he's aces off the field. Everybody raves about him. The physical tools, I mean, he is lightning fast. He's got a big arm, but he's a little bit scattershot. The Senior Bowl was just like up and down, probably more down than up, honestly, overall with his performance down there. I don't personally crush quarterbacks for the Senior Bowl. It's just a tough environment. So I'm fine just seeing guys go and just cut it loose and, meet with teams and do what you got to do. So to me, I look at Milroe and I say, okay, he's got day 1 talent physically. He goes to day 2. He's got high character. If the Arizona staff falls in love with him, I could definitely see that. Tyler Shuck, he's ready-made. Like, high floor, out of the box. Like if you told me 4 years from now he's Kirk Cousins, I absolutely could see that happening. Like he has got that kind of skill set. He had 4 season-ending injuries in college. Now, none of them were huge. None of them were it wasn't like, oh man, like a chronic shoulder injury that he got 3 surgeries on. It was like he had a broken leg and he had, I'll go through my notes and see, but all those injuries, there was nothing like completely structural or chronic where it's like, oh, that's going to be a huge issue for him moving forward. And I watch it, it's just like big throw after big throw after big throw on tape. But he's a little bit older. I mean, when he first got to Oregon, he went to 3 schools. He first got to Oregon, he was Justin Herbert's backup. Herbert's on contract too in the NFL, right? So this guy has been around the block at the college level. And then you go to Jackson Dart, and people rave about the character. He's been extremely productive, put up huge numbers in Lane Kiffin's in that offense. And so, again, depending on who you find, who you talk to in the scouting community and the coaching community, you're going to find someone that's going to champion potentially one of those 3 guys, and it's a matter of who's in that Arizona building pounding the table for him.
Louis Riddick, we talked to him at the Radio Row. He echoed your comments about Shuck. The thing we can't get past is his age. Going to be about 25 years old. Do like that he's an Arizona kid. He went to Hamilton High School locally here, but 47 might be a little too rich. Maybe even the 3rd round pick might be too much, but we'll see. He's on the rise. So is Fran Duffy, taking a look at his latest breakdown. Go PHNX.com. The 3 weeks he's been on the road, just really scouting the NFL draft, including the Senior Bowl and the East-West Shrine Bowl. Enjoy the parade this week, my man. It should be fun. Hopefully you keep those people in Philly in check. They don't do too much damage to your city there, but incredible insight as always.
Listen, I try my best there. I can't. You can't put that on me. There's no way that's getting done. I'm just going to have a good time with the family and take it all in.
Great stuff from our guy Fran. We've got your super chats plus a 4-round mock draft coming up. There's my guy Bo Brack. Up next on PHNX Cardinals. But first, I want to talk to you about our friends at Waymo. I was way more envious of Bo Brack that he got to experience Waymo en route to New Orleans. I can't wait. I'm going to set my appointment in advance. En route to the NFL Combine, en route to the airport, I'm going to utilize Waymo. And I'm one of many friends. They've got setups, 150,000 trips per week between San Fran, LA, and Phoenix. Likely coming to a city near you because it's elite. It's easy, right? And I love people. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes I just want to veg out. I want to chill in a vehicle, and I don't want to have to make small talk, right? Maybe I'm trying to get some work done. Maybe I'm trying to be on my phone. Maybe I'm just not having it, right? And I just want to be able to sit in the first company to serve a fully autonomous ride with no human being behind the wheel. Since 2015, they've got 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. That's enough to drive to the moon and back 80 times. Download the Waymo app today and ride today. The moon.
Unbelievable. Love my Waymo. I'm converted. Love it. Can't get enough of it. Did it to and from the airport. And so nice, so clean. Those Jags that Waymo works with, fantastic. You know what else is fantastic? Carol Royce in a real estate team, family owned, locally operated for more than 3 generations, serving the Valley of the Sun. They know the Valley. They know how to get your home sold and you to get the best price on it you can possibly get. Choosing the right agent, such a big decision. Too often you're left with doubts whether or not you made the right choice. But with Carol Royce and her team of realtors, you make the guaranteed choice. That's right. You don't have to really kind of fret. You can just rest easy knowing that you're making the right choice and the guaranteed one. Your home sold 100% of its market value, or Carol's going to pay you the difference. If you're looking for a cash offer, why just settle for one? How about getting 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 8, and you just pick the best one. It's best for you and your family. If you're considering selling your home in 2025, name the trust. It's Carol Royce, your home sold guarantee realty. Have questions? Give them a call today, 480-776. It's 480-776-5286. And also you got carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com.
Everybody be sure to hit that like button. The goal, we got over 600 people watching live. The goal every day of this football offseason, 500 likes for your boys, Damon, Johnny, Bo Brack. If you like the content, give us a like. It helps the show tremendously. Before our 4-round mock draft, let's do some super chats. Kyle Haley kicking us off, $5. Let's trade the 16th pick for Myles Garrett. I saw him smile at you, Johnny. If only it was that easy, Kyle. I mean, there's rumblings now it could take 2 ones. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be in that sandbox. However, I mean, if it took the 16th overall pick, I think we'd all in unison say, yeah, you make that trade if you're the Arizona Cardinals. I'm fearful that's going to cost Kyle much, much more.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading an article today about just it. He's kind of the toughest maybe player on the trade market, even though he put himself out there days after the Browns were like, we wouldn't trade him for 2 firsts. So maybe that was them preparing. That was them kind of like ratcheting things down before the storm. But look, he's 29 years old. You look at the previous cases of players that were traded for such high value, such high capital, and they were about 26, 27 years old. He's 29. And it just gets a little bit more complicated. But the Cardinals going to make a call, you know, according to Diana Rossini, according to who else we talked to out there on Radio Row. Monti Ossenfort, at the very least, needs to kind of investigate this. How about our guy, Nothing Better to Do? Bo, the trauma this organization has inflicted upon the fan base is what Monty has to heal. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. We're all healing. We're all healing together.
Slowly. Ball knower, Dan at $2. DBs will work with better than a 27th pressure rate. Absolutely. Cardinals via PFF had the second worst pass rush behind Carolina. I don't see anybody mocking corners to Carolina left and right. It starts up front, man. That's where games are won. Quarterback play and who's winning the line of scrimmage. Enough of this
easy
crap.
Yeah. I was a little uneasy when Fran dropped corner, and then he's like, "Yeah, I don't think they're going to be in the corner business." I was like, after what we just said. How about Greg Hanlon? Greg, great guy. Met him out. I think we were at KTR's. Kids were running around talking some ball. Greg does know ball. During the break, Johnny and Bo ripping lines. My good Lord. Well, Damon's using
good guy. Good Lord.
Oh. Thank you for trying, man. Greg, we're going to keep it a family program here as we continue with our streaming partners, but we are going to dive right into our mock draft coming up here next year on PHNX Cardinals. Got to tell you about our friends over at Pure Edibles, Johnny. Love Pure Edibles. They've got so much going on here in the Valley of the Sun. Pure Edibles, of course, been there in all 130 dispensaries here in our great state of Arizona, and they're a full-fledged candy company, but they're not going to just be doused in sugar. They put a responsible amount of sugar on all their edibles, and then, of course, their effects clearly labeled on their cans that you know exactly what to expect when you're taking a Pure edible. Pure offers gummies for sleep support, also candies for uplifting effects derived from unique cannabinoids such as CBN, CBG, CBD, and marijuana derived from THC. Created in Flagstaff, Noble Orb Dispensary made their way down the 17 here in Phoenix. That's where they're operating out of. We're thankful for it. Pure gummies are designed to be ripped, bit in half, making them easily shareable and easy to dial in the exact dose so you can have the experience you're seeking from your edibles. Go find yourself some Pure Edible products from one of the 130 dispensaries in Arizona. Pure Edibles.
Big thanks to our friends at Pure Edibles. Big thanks to our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals, PHNX Sports, and the Venerable household. That's because for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. They're dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. And friends, it's not just an ATM. Think bigger, think better. Checking, savings, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Plus, if you're an Arizona sports fan, rep the AZ Cardinals debit card, baby. Check it out. They got the player, the helmet, and the logo. I'm repping the logo, and I'll tell you what, when we were in New Orleans, I was throwing that bad boy down left and right. Yeah. People were taking notes, and no, they were not trying to steal my PIN number. Rep the Red Sea right now. Show your team spirit online. Open up a free checking account. Go to desertfinancial.com/CardinalsBo to get started.
Love it. You were very generous in what you were picking up the tab on in New Orleans, getting lots of drinks, hand grenades, hurricanes, all of it. That was on Johnny V and his Desert Financial Credit Union Cardinals card. It can be yours today. Who's going to be a Cardinal in the future? We're going to get into that with our mock draft. You want to get into these coaching hires real quick that the Cardinals announced?
Yeah, by the way, if you're watching with one of our many streaming partners, jump on over to gophnx.com. 615 live right now. Jump to gophnx.com. Jump to the YouTube. Like this video. Jump in the chat because now the show is about to get real gross. Go ahead, Bo.
Cardinals announced, 5 coaching hires, and we knew about most of them, right? You had Justin Fry filling the void left by Clayton Adams, who went to Dallas to become their OC. Fry takes over as the offensive line coach from Ohio State.
Yep.
You've got, Winston Delati Bauder, who's your defensive line coach. He fills in a different way, where it looks like the Cardinals, they parted ways with Derek LeBlanc as their defensive line coach, who started under JG's first staff 2 seasons ago. And also Sam Seifkis left to become the DC for Virginia Tech. They hired Christian Garcia away from the Dallas Cowboys. Matt Feeney was the one that we weren't expecting. Feeney is the outside linebackers coach. He takes the position that was held last 2 seasons by Rob Rodriguez, who was in Minnesota at one point with Gannon and crew, and also was at ASU locally before taking the Cardinals job. So Coach Rod, always great with the media, always a good guy. It looks like the Cardinals were looking to go in a different direction. And then hired Alec Osborne as their defensive quality control coach, promoted Connor Singer as their pass game specialist. I think him and Blaine Gotti are offensive quality control. They're helping fill the void left by Spencer Whipple.
We got kind of tipped off the Cardinals were going to make changes on their defensive side. That kind of caught us off guard. I think all of us would have agreed like they overachieved. And I think if you're Rob Rodriguez and, the coaches that were let go up front, you're like, what did I have to work with? But this is Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis telling everybody, like, doesn't matter what the talent pool is, we got to get more from this group. And it starts with the coaches, and then guess what's next in line? The players. And you're going to have B.J. Ojulari and Zaven and Darius Robinson, right? We're going to have some of these guys return. But what they produced up front, talent or not, was not good enough. They could not win with 4. Whatever the Eagles did, the Cardinals are the opposite of that. Just assume that the Cardinals, everything the Eagles do, and by the way, Gannon and Rallis don't want to blitz. How many games do we watch Rallis and we're like, blitz, but then they would do it and it would burn them. They know their personnel better than anybody. So just not enough development over the course of the year. Darius Robinson, he did come back, but minimal impact. He was nursing an injury, had a heavy year off the field as well. So it's just a reset. This front seven, coaching staff, and then hopefully personnel is unrecognizable. We knew about the offensive changes. We're excited. We broke the story about Justin Fry on our podcast. I think it's going to be relatively seamless. That they need to evolve as well. With the passing game has to be better. Where are the big explosives? Like, it's clear. The points of emphasis this offseason into next year. Fix your passing game. Fix your pressure. That's it. That's the key to 2025. Get after their quarterback and find big explosives in the passing game. That's how you get to the playoffs. And hopefully that will be reflected in our mock draft today, Bo.
Let's get gross. Let's do it. Let's fire that thing up.
All right. So this is always like, I'm very nerve-wracking here as I share my screen because I don't know what's going to be exposed. Not that there is anything
it's
too
just
exposed.
You looking at like Hershey's.com. You're just on candy websites.
M&M World.
Squirrel. Right. The Hershey squirrel. All right.
It's just people putting back like Cinnabons. You're just being a sick, nasty kid. Looking at candy.
Are we getting gross with 4 rounds? You teased 4 rounds. Okay.
I did tease it. I don't know if I jumped the gun there, but I feel like it's time.
How are we doing this? Because here's how our last 2 mocks have gone. First mock, I took over, and I think it was better. Last time, Bo, you and Damon kind of took the wheel. Can we come to grips with an understanding today, or you don't feel like we're in that point in our relationship this offseason?
Like, can we trust that you don't just?
You don't just
carjack. You don't just like take this thing over. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I've never done that. First of all, I think the 3 of us need to be in complete agreement with who they draft. And
Damon like audibly scoffed. Like it just naturally came out when you said that. Like he it's not a bid or anything. Like just scoffed at you.
I'm off camera.
Yeah, just lying to people.
I've never lied. No one's ever been.
You hijacked every mock draft, even the one that Damon and I did. I think you can make the case that you were very manipulative.
Why don't you just mute me? Why don't I just sit this out, right?
No, I want this to be more of a collaboration. It's
all
the
right.
first.
That's all you have to say. Then I don't have to be being smartasses about it. Like, let's just. We're all grown-ups here. Let's have a grown-up mock draft. Let's button up our shirts and get to work here. Let's roll up our sleeves and let's get to work. I will not screw this up. I won't screw up this mock draft. Do you have any interest in trading up? Does anybody have any interest?
No.
Okay.
For who? Do you have somebody in mind? That's usually why you trade up.
Oh my God. I can already tell I'm going to be so pissed off when we do this. Explain it to me why people would trade up. All right, I'm starting the draft. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Shador. We'll go through this here.
Patriots.
All right,
so he goes to the Dolphins.
To recap, Cam Ward, first overall pick. Travis Hunter, Shador Sanders. Damon's boy McMillan goes to the Patriots. Abdul Carter falling to pick 5. Will Johnson, Mason Graham, the first defensive lineman or D tackle. Malachi Starks, Will Campbell, Mike Green to the Bears. Josh Simons to the San Francisco 49ers. James Pierce Jr. Ashton Genty. Damon, you told us time and time again the Dolphins could take Ashton Genty. Tyler Warren. Yeah, right. And then Benjamin Morris here. I think this broke pretty well for the Cardinals. I think not necessarily a best case scenario, but I'm looking at some names here, gentlemen, and I'm like, there's 3 or 4 guys I'd have no problem taking here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've already circled the guy that I want. I think that, you see some intriguing positions. Obviously, I'm not going to really look at the wide receivers, even though there's some talented players there. I'm not into Kelvin Banks Jr., the tackle out of Texas. That would be the third tackle off the board in this draft.
Yeah.
And then like what we heard from Fran, as far as Shamar Stewart, I'm not into that. One person I'm considering Michael Williams, but I think Walter Nolan is the pick here, and then try to identify the edge in the second round.
You would have had to have found a starter in free agency. Well, let me ask you this. Would it have changed your mind if we're sitting here on the clock at pick 16 and it's Baron Browning and Zaven Collins poised to start next year? Does that, or BJ Ojulari and Baron Browning, does that change your mind at all?
So who's your option? You want Williams instead of Nolan?
No, I'm asking you, if hell freezes over, let's just say this. Let's say they signed Milton Williams. They're not going to draft Walter Nolan then.
No, they won't. No, if they got Milton Williams, they would not get Walter Nolan.
But I'll pretend here that they get Reddick or Sweat. They don't add a D tackle in free agency, and now we're sitting here, and Walter Nolan to me is the best football player available.
Yeah, and that's really what the way I see it. I mean, if you're looking at you just talked about, how you're going to rush for and get pressure. He gives you a great ability to do that. I don't care where he's playing on the defensive line. Walter Nolan is, talking to a couple people that were at the Senior Bowl, they thought that he was able to kind of narrow the gap between him and, the Mason Grahams that are atop this draft. Like he's firmly, defensive lineman too, and on a lot of people's boards. And I'd love to gift that to Nick Rollis and Jonathan Gannon. I just think that he has the most value compared to Michael Williams and your boy Captain Jack Sawyer down here on the draft board. I think that what you're getting in positional value, you're punting on just pure talent.
I'm with you. Now we do have to keep in mind, like the Cardinals, can we get back into, the Donovan range here, the other kid out of Ole Miss, Landon Jackson, players I can't pronounce. I do like the grouping of edge rushers available atop the second round. So, Damon, are we all in agreement? Walter Nolan's the pick here.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Okay,
then we're gonna take this slow here, and I'm just gonna rep out the rest of the first round.
Such a gentleman.
Well, I'm anything if not a gentleman here. Okay, so we're not going to attempt to trade yet, but has Jack Sawyer been drafted yet? He has not. So I'm going to ask my co-hosts here. Obviously, it's not realistic for him, I don't think, to fall to pick 47. However, I mean, like, if this is a spot to trade up for him, would you guys be willing to package 47 and 78 to come up for Jack Sawyer?
No.
Why are you yelling? Oh, no, I'm sorry. He did go. My mistake.
Thank God.
Such a Charger, such a Harbaugh player.
He'll be an all-pro for Jim Harbaugh. He might lead the league in sacks next year for Jim Harbaugh. All right.
Are you serious, or is this a bit?
This is a gimmick.
Thank God.
I can't see who's I can't see who's available here. If I do like resume draft, I don't know.
We'll just resume draft and just take the speed all the way down.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
How about the Chiefs upgrading their O-line by getting the guy that Mike Green put into the core of the earth?
That's true.
First round.
Yeah, but we've heard that he's very good. Okay, the kid out of BC just went off the board.
He did.
Another edge off the board.
What about the other kid from Ohio State? There's Princely.
Oh, another edge from Ole Miss just went off the board.
Landon Jackson.
Another one.
Yeah, we want JT.
All right. What about? All right. So the Bears they took two edge rushers back to back.
Yeah.
What if we go up and get JT from Ohio State? Would you have an issue with it? We're not going to get him. We're going to lose him here, I think. I can't even see who's available. I don't like this. Where's like best available guys? It's just, I guess big board maybe. No, I'll lose the draft. You want to let this play out?
Let's just let this play out.
All right. Bears going for their third edge rusher here. They did. The Bears have taken 3 edge rushers.
Thanks a lot, Bo.
Somebody get Trevor Sycamore on the phone and get this fixed.
Bo Ossenfort over here.
Who's the draft? Who's making these picks? Greg Braggs Jr.
Bo just channeling his inner Monty. No aggressiveness. Sad.
Okay, so I'm gonna say something right now.
Yeah, there he is. Oh, in this stupid draft, is Jalen Walker still available?
What is anybody? How does people feel about a guy who scored 21 touchdowns last year? They hate Jalen Walker.
I like Kyle Kennard from South Carolina, or I like the tackle from Minnesota in this spot.
You don't like Jalen Walker? You think that's too big of like a?
I just think it's not realistic. Of course, I love Jalen Walker in this spot.
Donovan Jackson.
Like, I would run to the podium if it was Jalen Walker, but I don't want to play this draft like
delusional fantasy.
Yeah.
Is there any part of you that wants to draft Scatterboo?
No.
Damon, is there any part of you that wants to draft Cam Scatterboo?
I want Scat in the 3rd round. Second's a little bit for my liking.
He's not going to make it to the 3rd round.
You don't think so?
No chance.
No chance?
0 chance. 0.000.
Urante Ursi. That's our guy.
Bad
quarterbacks, no love here from PFF, at least not yet. What's happening at edge? Who's rushing the passer for us off the edge?
Well, I mean, if you like Kyle Kennard from South Carolina, he's a decent prospect. He's
you know what
there.
I don't. I really don't. Yeah, nice job against Clemson and whatever this is. This even a real school? Is that Butler Bulldogs? Who is that?
Wofford.
Yikes!
Probably barely played those games.
Yikes! All right, you guys make the pick here. I'm already upset. I tried to trade up. I want players from big time programs. I don't think if Jalen Walker is available here, I say we take him. Cooper DeJean fell last year. Guys fall all the time. We don't know why.
Take him then. That's a slam dunk.
I'll take him. I'm not sitting here just taking a guy. If we can only play the hand that we're dealt here. Let's crank up this bad boy here as we cruise on from the 2nd round to the 3rd round here. I think it opens up. I think we got to look at quarterback and offensive line here.
Right.
I think let's see who's available. QB.
I was looking at one of the best tackles in the draft, and you were poo-pooing it.
Cardinals don't have an O-line problem.
Yeah, I like Jonah a lot.
Yeah, but again, what if they sign Micah? Jonah can't play tackle though. If they sign him,
I think you look at him as a guard, and there's a need for guard.
Why can't he play tackle though?
He has the size to play tackle.
Yeah, he does, and he did in college.
I must have talked to 5 people.
Bassa, and really the only other guy I'm considering in this spot. So you got the edge out of Oregon, and then you've got Bond, who's intriguing to be game-breaking wide receiver.
All right, so let's just say hypothetically, man, we know they're going to sign a guard.
I think Ivan Naz is the player.
Who's that?
Jonah.
What about a trade down?
I mean, you want to trade down out of getting a good, talented player?
Okay. They're signing a guard in free agency to a multi-year deal. We know that. Isaiah Adams is starting at right. Where is Jonah playing next year?
I mean, I think he competes with Isaiah Adams, certainly, and then also could potentially play tackle. I think you test him at tackle, see how it looks.
So you're just taking a good old lineman to take a good old lineman? That's
versatile.
Fine.
He's a versatile piece, athletic, big. All right, what are people offering for trade down? Like, how far do you have to go down the board?
I mean, the Steelers are probably you're getting their second, or they're getting.
So you're moving down 7 spots
to get another 4th.
Okay, let's do it.
But you're punting on him. He's not going to be there in 7 spots, and I don't want people
trust my board, Johnny. Let's go.
All right, trade's been accepted. Resuming drafts. He hasn't gone yet. Oh, there he goes. All right, so back on the clock here. We got a couple tackles from NC State, Kimes alma mater. What?
I think we messed up.
I think this is where you take a quarterback. I think you take a QB. I think you take one of these guys. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring for Jalen Milroe at this spot.
Oof.
People are going to be
I
upset.
hate this mock draft.
I haven't. Listen to me. I haven't made a pick yet. Can I make a pick here? I think Jalen Milroe will pick 85. You can do a lot worse. But if you got
my preference is Jackson Dart, but you do you. Is this the one you want to make your
Damon, Dart or Milroe? You pick. Bo and I, let's go QB. Pick Damon. You're the tiebreaker. Pick one.
Dart.
All right, Jackson Dart, pick 85. I don't have an issue with that. Get some new blood in the room. Okay. We're gonna turbo this bad boy here. We got 2 picks in the 4th round, 113 and 121, and little edge pressure here. Baron Sorrell from Texas, 9 sacks last year. He did dominate Clemson. Had a rough college football playoff going against some of the top tackles in college football. 6'4", 260.
a little small, huh? No,
yeah.
he's not. No, that's not bad.
Outside the tackle predominantly. I think this is good value here for a guy at double-digit sacks in the Big 12 last year.
Yeah.
We can get.
What do you got interior offensive line wise?
You want to look at guard?
Yeah.
Willie Lampkin.
Sweet Willie is very undersized. He's the kid that's 5'10", like.
Oh my God! What?
He's 260. That's actually 30 pounds below his actual weight.
There's a tackle from Florida, Brandon Crenshaw Dickerson. Played well at the end of the year against LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State, and does play right tackle.
That's pretty That's encouraging considering how much talent Ole Miss has in the defensive front.
And LSU historically didn't play well against Texas or Florida, or Texas and Georgia, I should say, or Miami in week 1. 6'7", 322.
Let's take him.
Okay. I don't have issue with that. Still no edge rusher. Oh, we took Jalen Walker. I'm sorry. We took Jalen Walker earlier.
What do we got for wide receiver here?
Let's check it out here. Wide receiver, Pat Bryant. I think this makes a lot of sense. Yards per reception, 18.2. The Cardinals love their Illini players.
Scroll down a little bit. What's his slot yardage? Did he ever play in the slot? No, on his, yeah.
Didn't give it to me.
227 down there.
Okay.
So just 9 catches in the slot. So, I mean.
He can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, is Nick Nash there?
Who? Yeah.
He was like the Triple Crown winner, wasn't he?
13.3 yards per reception.
He's really good deep threat wise. So I think the fit.
Well, look at this. He had 1,200 yards in the slot.
I don't have a problem with taking a kid out of a small school on day 3. I don't want to do it on day 2 or day 1, but I don't have an issue with it now. He's a redshirt senior. How old is he? They don't even have his age on here. He might be 30.
I think he's probably like 23.
All right, Damon, pick a wideout.
Nick Nash.
All right, let's do it. I don't know how good this grade's going to be, but I do feel like there's something for everybody in this mock draft.
Ball knower draft, really.
It's a what?
It's a ball knower draft. People look at, these guys, B-. That's.
I'm going to tell you right now, if this was I'd sign up for this draft tomorrow. Any of us would.
Yeah.
Well, your first 2 picks make the draft.
Yeah. Walter
Everything
Nolan,
else.
Jalen Walker. I mean, Jackson Dart in the 3rd round's tremendous value. And then you got 2 guys on day 4 that are just pipeline offensive players that are going to come in. Maybe they're going to play a little bit this year, but they don't have to play right away. If you bring back Kelvin Beachum and Greg Dortch, they can be the Rabbit Taylor Demerson, where they're just waiting in the wings for an opportunity. Dart could potentially be in a room with Daniel Jones and Kyler Murray. What a dynamic that would be. Danny Dimes, Jackson Dart, and Kyler Murray. 3 QBs come in, 1 QB emerges. And then, Walter Nolan, Jalen Walker are drafted to help win you the NFC West. I like it. See, we did it. We did it as a team.
Brian thinks that we let you bully us. I don't think so. I mean, the first 2 picks, you can't deny that would just change the complexion of the defense.
You liked Jalen Walker, Bo. You just didn't think it was fair that he fell that far.
Correct.
But I'm not going to take a lesser player if they're guys fall all the time. Johnny Newton was a 2nd round pick last year. Maybe Jalen Walker, he's got a little medical.
Yeah, it would take a medical for him to fall.
No, let's just pretend he had a medical, but it's clean now. Look who benefits, the Cardinals.
What I want to pretend is the Cardinals made a big move already, and I can go slug a caffeinated beverage.
This isn't a big move like we assume, but that'll get your juices flowing. That'll get it going. Are people happy with that group? I almost wish
I got bullied, and I maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm too close to it. Maybe Johnny is such a bully. He has me believing that maybe I got Stockholm syndrome a little bit.
You did put your foot down on the JT trade. And
yeah.
Johnny and I were both pro that. So
Damon and I tried to trade up. I tried to trade up multiple times. I'll tell you what I did bully you into. You guys wanted the kid from U of A, and I did.
And you wanted a quarterback.
I did. I thought all the QBs being there. Let's have some fun. Let's get a little juice, baby.
What I thought was funny, Bo, was him going, I think we take an O-lineman with this next pick. And then Bo and I are both there like, oh, this guy. We like this guy. And he goes, actually, I think O-lineman is not the way to go at all.
Let's go.
I don't remember that. That didn't happen.
He passed on 2 O-linemen that we really liked.
I just don't see the benefit of taking a guard in the top 100 when you have I think a young stud in Isaiah Adams next year at right guard, and you're going to sign. What if they give Mekhi Becton like $50 million? You're taking a guard?
Yeah.
And you got money put into Yelda Froholt? Interesting. Wow.
Johnny is a bully, but I don't think he was a bully during this draft. And look, he's a little hangry as well. But,
Edward, this is not radio. This is actually digital media streamed on multiple platforms, aka the future. Welcome to the future. Drop a like on this video.
I'd love to hear who people in radio are going to select.
But can we have your radio voice to call us out today?
Yeah, everybody, thanks for joining us here today on a Wednesday edition of
for sure.
Oh yeah, he's just a great football player.
16th pick.
He's just you know what position he is? Football player, folks. I'll take 53 of them.
The local media on the radio is 100%.
Oh my goodness, Cam Scatterbo, did you see his 40 time?
Make sure you subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Of course, wherever you listen to podcasts, leave a 5-star, leave a review. It does wonders for us, barring any breaking news. And by God, Zach, come on now. Johnny, worst GM ever.
I love those picks. I'll go down, to the wire with those picks.
We will do mock free agency. We'll do another dream off season this month. We'll do it all off season long, but that's going to do it for us today. We got Rising, we got Suns tonight, so we're going to make way for those fine folks over there. Make sure you're subscribed to PHNX Sports and you like this video. We'll talk to you on Thursday. Have a good one.
We all silly like the mayor.